Okay. I think I've figured out YouTube here. I apologize for the delay. Can you actually see me here and hear me? I hope. Type a note and let me know. They've completely changed the YouTube control panel, and I didn't know that. So now I'm trying to see if I can figure it out. Please let me know if you can actually hear me at this point. It should be live, I think. I hope so anyway. So I don't know. I'm perhaps talking to myself. There you are. Okay. Hallelujah, Don. Thank you. Okay. Wow. This has been a bit of an adventure trying to figure this out. Okay. I got it figured out. So next time at 6 p.m., we'll actually get started on time. So I apologize. This is, YouTube is making some absolutely great changes to YouTube to make it more user-friendly and more effective and so on. Oh, thank you so very much. I appreciate it. Hey, how about that? I appreciate Scott giving me the thumbs up there. Wow. Okay, cool. That was interesting. All right. So a couple things real quick since I got you. And I apologize for the delay in getting started. I actually started on time and I couldn't make it go live. So I had to figure out how to use Wirecast with YouTube and go back and read the instructions. They completely changed the whole login thing here. So, all right. A couple things to talk about, if you don't mind. One is, I'll just give you a quick update here because I think it's interesting on some stuff that happened in Virginia where the NRA actually did a great job. Here's a news story that there's a couple of them I just found on Breitbart at about 5:30 today. VA Dems dropped the AR-15 confiscation after thousands of NRA members show up. And then here's another one. VA Dems curb gun control revolt by actually going out and cheating. They went out in the lines and pulled in only the people that wanted gun control and wouldn't let the rest of the pro-Second Amendment people come in. I thought those were two interesting things. Oh, the other thing we got to pay attention to, obviously, is the fact that Florida seems to be going south a little bit. Here's another news story. So you might check out Breitbart and some other places if you want to do that. One subject that I want to discuss briefly, and then I'll start looking at the questions, just answer your questions on whatever you want to talk about. But before we do that, if you don't mind, I do want to go over a couple of things with regard to church security because I've sort of retired for the most part from teaching and from consulting. I've done a lot of consulting for a lot of churches. Saddleback Church up in El Toro area is a huge church, and I worked with them and taught their security staff for a while. Great bunch of people. I wasn't the only person doing that. They had other trainers as well. And then I've had other churches that I've consulted with, and some that when we had the security company, we actually provided security for, and then my own church. So real quick, because I'm getting a lot of questions on this about church security, I'll bring these things up very quickly for you, kind of in bullet point fashion. And then if you want to know more, I'm happy to share that with you. I would say, first of all, there's two aspects of church security. One is the spiritual aspect, and which is walking closely with the Lord if you happen to be Christian or whatever your faith is, being really grounded in your faith. And then the other is the physical aspect. Now, if you're a Christian, there's some key scriptures to look at that will help you when you're going to church. I will tell you that I cannot remember the last time I went to church and somebody didn't stop me and tell me how worried they are about church security. And I mean, it happens every week. I actually got through 3/4 of church this Sunday, and I said to my wife, I might actually get out of here with nobody talking to me about security. And not 2 minutes later, I had a couple of people come and ask me about security and tell me how frightened they were. So it's a very key subject right now. So if you're a Christian, I would look at Isaiah 43:1 and Matthew 10:28. They'll help you quite a bit. All right, then their physical aspect of it. Here's the number one deal. Do not delegate the responsibility for your own personal safety to someone else. The truth is, other than a close family member who loves you dearly, there's nobody on the planet that's more concerned about your safety than you are. So it's important that you take control of your safety. And if that means if you're in a state or location where you can get a concealed carry permit and carry going to church, I suggest you do that. I think that's very important. I do. So why would I suggest that you do otherwise? Now, if you're in a state like California where some areas it's impossible or very difficult to get a permit, then you got to look at some other options. And then take a forward active role in your church security by contacting your church leadership and saying, hey, do we have security? And if so, what? And so on. But don't depend on people at church to keep you safe. The number one person who needs to keep you and your family safe is you. With church security, there are three things you really want to think about. Everybody thinks about the one, which is let's get some people with guns to protect us. Everybody thinks about that, and I get it. That's the easy thing to do. But there is a lot of training that goes into that. behavioral recognition, just recognizing behaviors and knowing how to approach them and what they indicate, help you a lot. And they'll help you keep from getting yourself killed, because volunteers do get killed at church. That just happened in Texas not too long ago, obviously. The 2 volunteers were killed, the deacon and the gentleman who was helping to serve in security. There were actually 3 heroes that day, although we only hear about the one. Verbal judo, great training, learning some defensive tactics, hand-to-hand stuff a little bit, helps quite a bit. Escort techniques. Sometimes you have to escort people out. You want to do so safely and make sure that you've got a hold of them, and you got to do it in a camera-friendly way. Firearms training is important. If you're going to have firearms in the congregation, you can't just start shooting pell-mell everywhere. You're going to end up hurting somebody. Therein comes training the congregation. If something happens, what does the congregation do? Get out of the way. Get down, get out of the way. Let security deal with it. Let the armed people deal with it, and don't get in their way, get shot inadvertently. And then some team training. You want to train basic things like contact and cover. What does that mean? How does that work in your team? A defensive pistol, teamwork. How do you function as a team if you have to engage a violent person with firearms as a team? That team practice is super important. And then some churches go as far as learning about handcuffing and that kind of stuff. And that's all team training that you want to have for your security staff. In some places like California, they have to be licensed. So what does that mean? Does the church have to be licensed? What are the licenses? And for example, in California, people can be volunteers as long as they're not carrying any defensive weapons. If they're carrying any weapons at all, they have to be licensed, and they have to be W-2 employees of the church. There's a lot of churches don't do that. And then later on, what's going to happen is there's going to be a tremendous liability problem on the back end if they don't investigate that stuff ahead of time. Concealed carry permits in states where you got to have them, like California or other states. Some states like Arizona, you don't. I mean, it's a constitutional carry state. I wish they were all that way. Here's a big deal. Insurance. It's a very common thing right now for churches to have volunteers as security, because churches are, and houses of worship, whether it's a church or a synagogue or a temple or whatever, it doesn't really matter. They tend to use volunteers a lot because people want to volunteer, and that's great. And volunteerism is awesome. However, where security is concerned, you have to understand, if you're volunteering to teach the kids on Sunday or Saturday or whenever you have your meeting, you're not putting your life at risk. If you're volunteering to defend the congregation against a violent person, you're putting your life at risk. So there's a strong possibility that you could get killed or crippled or seriously injured. Okay, so if you get killed, who's going to take care of your family at that point? Do you have enough life insurance? Does the church or house of worship have any insurance to cover you? If you get crippled and you're now disabled for life and you can't work anymore, who's going to support your family? These are things people don't think about. And then they happen, and now what? And yeah, okay, so now you don't have any disability insurance. You now are crippled to the point where you're disabled to the point where you can't work because you got shot 3 times. You survived, but you can't work anymore. Yeah, the church or the synagogue or whoever, they're going to probably have an opportunity for people to give to help you out, but they're not going to do that every month for the rest of your life. They're probably only going to do it once or twice, and then you're pretty much on your own. So do you have that kind of insurance in place, or does the church have that kind of insurance in place for you? Liability. You manhandle some guy and he falls and gets hurt, or you shoot somebody and he's hurt badly, then there's a possibility that his family or he are going to sue you. Do you have insurance to cover that? Does the church have liability insurance that covers not only the church and the church leadership, but also you as a volunteer? These are all things that you got to think about when you're thinking about church security. And there are a lot of these things people don't consider, they don't think about, and it's a big deal to worry about that. And I've consulted a lot of churches, and I got to tell you, with very, 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 very few exceptions, most of them don't think of any of this. They just get a few guys together as volunteers and off they go. And now somebody gets hurt or killed and you go, okay, what now? And then it's too late. So this is stuff that you really want to consider ahead of time when you're protecting houses of worship. Volunteerism is great, but in a lot of cases, it's not the best choice for a house of worship. It really is for the church to get in there and make sure that they're covering and protecting these people on the back end should they have to actually act. And that's a liability and insurance issue as well as other things. And then training too. There's lots of great folks out there to train. All right, anyway, that was all I wanted to chat with you about this morning. And then let me go through here and see if you have questions for me. I will happily answer them. I'm just really fired up that you can actually see and hear me, because it was quite the project. No, I can't see or hear you asking me if I can see or hear you. Thank you very much. I love it. Let's see. Okay, you can hear me. That's great. Thank you so much. Let's see. I see you. I hear you. Your channel is awesome. Thank you very much. That's very nice of you to say. I appreciate that. Sometimes I wonder about that. So I'm glad that the content is something that you enjoy, because I'm super hypercritical of it, and I watch. I see the videos we put together and I go, golly, that could be so much better. So we're always trying to make them better. Don't stop the stream for me. Okay, I won't do it. Let's see. Way to go, NRA. Absolutely. The NRA, sometimes they don't do much, and this time they really dove in and did some things right. And I thought, wow, way to go. Maybe there's some good things coming on the horizon with NRA. I really hope so. They're powerful and strong, and I'm still a life member, although I don't send them money anymore. They call me about every day asking for money. But until Wayne LaPierre is sorted out, I don't know that I feel comfortable doing it. Let's see. What else is new? I'm ashamed to have been a Floridian. Well, don't be. My sister's a Floridian, and so I get it. Do you think California is going to ban semi-automatics? Okay, so here's the deal with California and semi-automatics. It is the stated goal of our current whack job governor and loony lefty, what do they call it? The Assembly and Senate, legislature, to ban all semi-automatic firearms in the state. Is it actually feasible for them to do so? Probably not. They can make them really difficult to get. They can legislate the tar out of them. But when you're looking at the Supreme Court decision in Heller and the Supreme Court decision in McDonald, and whatever the Supreme Court comes up with this case that they're about to decide on here pretty soon now, it might be impossible for them to ban those things because they're firearms in common use, which is what it said in Heller. So is it possible? Sure. Is it likely that they're going to make a serious attempt to do it? Yes. Are they going to be able to in the long run? I don't know. I doubt it, as long as we keep doing what we're doing. I think the scariest proposition is that Trump doesn't get elected and somebody gets elected that's going to put in every liberal judge in the world. Right now, President Trump 70 conservative justices to the federal bench. That's the unsung victory that nobody talks about that much, that is a great protection for the Second Amendment for decades. So if he continues doing that, which he plans to do, and we get him reelected, that will help a lot. I may not agree with him on everything, but by George, I agree with him on that. Okay, let's see what else. I had alarm set. Okay, I don't understand that question. Let's see. Somebody did something. Error. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain a smooth stream. I'm not sure what that means. I'm trying to send video like crazy. Let's see. When are you moving to Yuma? I'm not. We have a business here, so I'm not going to move. Constitutional filtrator. See, John, GunGuyTV. How do you feel about the police securing your carry without a warrant in a car stop? The answer is I'm okay with it because in California because it's cultural. I'm not okay with it from a Second Amendment perspective. But in California, it's kind of a cultural thing. And at this point, my feeling is we have to change the culture a little bit at a time. We're not going to change it all at once. So right now, I look at it and say to myself, we've lost our rights in California and states like that. Incrementally, we're probably going to have to get them back incrementally. I would hope at some point or other, law enforcement would stop being afraid of law-abiding citizens. I've had contacts with law enforcement. I have a concealed carry permit, and they've just not even asked me to do anything other than keep my hands away from the gun. So I think it's on a cop-by-cop basis. In California, you have to allow them to do that if they wish to. I believe that is part of the penal code. Let's see if I can find any others, and forgive me if I miss yours. I'm trying to get them all here. Let's see. Yeah, I did a thing on a Savage rifle today. Appleseed, yes, I haven't done that. I would like to go do that. Bearing arms is not just right. Yeah, it surely is. Absolutely, it's a natural right. I would call it a God-given right. It has nothing to do with the Constitution, but the Constitution supposedly guarantees it and protects it. Hopefully, I'm still streaming here. All right, anyone know of a good place to shoot recreationally in the Modesto area? I do not, but if somebody does, please share. Tennessee, hey, welcome from Tennessee. The crazies in California welcome you. Let's not vote Joel into office. Please don't. Thank you very much for, I can't say it, CHKNLYPS2. Thank you very much for your super chat. I keep forgetting people can do that. That's very nice of you. How about Idaho? What about Idaho? Other than, I don't know if there's something going on with Idaho. I missed it. Let's see. Kansas checking in here. I love Idaho, by the way. It's beautiful. And Kansas, too. A lot of my family, by the way, was from Independence, Kansas, which I think is in the southeast corner of Kansas. Please don't make me governor. Anything but that. I'm not a politician. I wouldn't last very long. Let's see. Constitutional. Okay, answered that one. You heard that it cost about $40,000 to treat a gunshot wound. Holy smoke. I had no idea. I'm not surprised, but I had no idea. I think it costs $40,000 to go to the doctor, doesn't it? For anything. For the sniffles anymore. If you go to the hospital, yeah. I mean, anything you go to the hospital for costs a fortune. You got to have great insurance, and that's where it gets back to that again. And you feel the same way about the NRA. I get it. Let's see. With John, we did that. SCOTUS has already decided on that several times. Yes, that they have. Let's see. Well, they stopped. Okay, so somebody said Virginia stopped the legislation. They stopped some of it. The legislation isn't final yet. So as far as my understanding is that what happened yesterday is not indicative of what's going to actually be, and so we can't give up. We can't stop the pressure on the folks in Virginia. By the way, just so you know about church security, there is a bill in the Assembly that would make it legal for people with concealed carry permits to carry on a school grounds in the state of California if the church is renting the auditorium for church on Sunday or Saturday or whatever. Right now, you can't do that. So that would be a great thing for you to contact your legislator about. Maybe we can get that to happen in California. Got a few anti-gunners. I don't consider them. Okay. Let's see. Forgive me, I'm trying to get through the rest of these just to find questions, if there are any. The bump stock ban, red flag laws like that, a lot of that is not a Trump judge thing. That's just stuff that we have to fight. But I agree with you. It bothers me too. Can I find places to target practice in BLM land in California? Yes. Okay. If you're in the San Diego County area, BLM land, if you go out to Ocotillo Wells, out in that area, there's an area past Julian, quite a ways, out 78? Out 78. And it's past, it's out in the weeds. It's quite a ways out there in Ocotillo Wells. There's a motorcycle gas station kind of a thing on the right-hand side. And if you drive out there, there's train tracks and you can shoot out there. I don't have a map to share with you, but you can still shoot out there in BLM land as far as I know. Let's see, what else we got? I haven't seen nor heard any hiccups with the stream. I'm grateful. Well, okay, there's an option for churches, too, is start a law enforcement ministry. This gentleman's saying that, it's Mark, saying that they have a lot of law enforcement people at their church. We do, too, and they are part of our team, and that's a very important thing because they have all that coverage. They're acting as law enforcement. Now, sometimes with law enforcement, their agencies won't let them be part of a formal security team because if they are, they're outside the rules of their agency, and then their agency won't back them up. So it's important that they check on that. But what they can do is they can be part of a law enforcement ministry and know who each other are and know who the security team members are, and then they can pop up like daisies and help if they need to. That's another way to look at that. Idaho still has a Second Amendment. Yes, well, I hope so. Do you think any part of California will become a gun sanctuary? One place already has, that's Needles, California. I was talking to Sam Paredes at Gun Owners of California the other day, and that is certainly being considered. My hope is that will happen. Some of the more conservative counties, Kern County, Nevada County, there's a few. A lot of California is rural, and those rural counties can be very, very conservative, and if they choose to go that way, I told Sam, I said to Sam, look, tell me where, if there's a rally or whatever for that, let me know where and when, and I will be there. And I will be, because that's got to happen. If we can do that in California, that would be absolutely wonderful. Let's see. Butte County. What's up with the 29 of January in California? I don't know what you're referring to. So if you don't mind typing that in again and give me some background, forgive me, I don't know what we're talking about there. Any news about the California ammo law? Yeah, it's in court. What I've tried to do is give folks ways to legal ways to get ammo. There's a few ways to do it, to have it shipped to you. One is to get the Curio and Relic FFL, which I think is $39 or something for 3 years, and to get yourself a California Certificate of Eligibility, which is a tad more expensive. It's expensive to get. I don't think it's particularly expensive to renew, but you got to get a live scan, so it's probably $100. But if you have those, to renew is less expensive. But if you have those two things, then you can have ammo shipped directly to you. I confirmed that with Ammo Squared, by the way, and a few other people. Or for that matter, you can take those with you. My understanding is you can actually drive out of state, buy ammo, and legally bring it back in. You just want to have those two documents with you, and that solves that problem. I confirmed that with CRPA, and I confirmed it with law enforcement two or three times. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is currently, at least, if you are a reloader, which I am, and you like to reload or hand load, the components are not restricted. So you can order components all you want. And if you are a reloader, I suggest you order them and stock up now, because sooner or later, no doubt, they will try to regulate those as well in a similar fashion. I know the whole ammo law is in court right now. I believe that part of the law is, that part of that whole Proposition 63 thing is sitting with Judge Benitez right now. Now, Judge Benitez is the guy in San Diego, federal judge, who gave us Freedom Week and ruled that the magazine ban was unconstitutional. I suspect he will do the same with the ammo ban, because he actually required the state to provide to him information on how many people had been caught illegally trying to buy ammo that were prohibited people, and how many people had been kept from buying ammo who were not prohibited and whose rights were violated, and that's about 64,000, whereas the number who were caught is so small, it's less than 1/100th of 1% or something. It's a really tiny little number. So he will, more than likely, given his history, will see that as an infringement and probably declare that law unconstitutional. So we'll have to see where that goes. I expect, having talked to CRPA and Gun Owners of California, they both expect to have a ruling on that at any time. So we're kind of sitting around waiting for him to decide that. Let's see. Do I think bump stocks are just the beginning of ATF making more rules, regulations, semi-auto weapons? No, I don't. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised. I think under Trump, that's less likely. Trump was willing to do that with the bump stock. I suspect that the reason why Trump did that with the bump stock is he knew it wasn't going to hold water with the court and that they would throw it out, because they really don't have a leg to stand on legally by doing what they did. If he hadn't done it, then Congress would have banned it through legislation, and now it's a much harder thing for us to fight. So sometimes people, these politicians and judges and whatever, do things that look horrible, but they do them for a reason, because it makes it easier for us to overcome down the road. I know NRA does that periodically. Not always. Sometimes they do, and it really sucks. They do things that are just stupid. But other times they do things for strategic reasons, which on a tactical basis on the ground don't look like they make sense. But in the overall strategy, they kind of do. And this is one of those things, I think, with the bump stock. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm hearing. Let's see. I don't know the answer. Let's see. I'm looking for a couple more here if I can find them. Let's see. Introduced today. Well, in Virginia, they're really trying to crack down on these counties that are Second Amendment sanctuaries. I don't know that they're going to have any effect. They're going to do what they're going to do either way. Oh, somebody just said, well, that's good for you. They just invested in Ammo Squared. Well, good for you. I have not, because I already own a business, but that's certainly something to look at. I've got a whole video on that. So you did an interview with Dan, Ammo Dan from Ammo Squared. Neat sounding company. Let's see. Gavin Gasbag. Okay, I hadn't heard that, and that's great. I love that. I may start using that. Gavin Gasbag I'm going to start calling him Gavin Gasbag now. Thank you very much, Scott. I really appreciate that. I hadn't thought about that one. Michigan is trying its first Second Amendment city in Monroe County. Well, that's awesome. I'm hoping that moves across the country. That would be incredible. An 80% lower is not a firearm. That is true. Very good friend of mine who is a retired ATF special agent will tell you that that is a fact, and he's gone to court and beat a number of cases for people by illustrating that in the statute and being an expert witness. And so he's done a great job supporting the Second Amendment in that regard. He's a big-time Second Amendment supporter. Isn't the judge going to do a second Freedom Week about so-called assault weapons? That's entirely possible. You have to understand, I didn't understand until afterwards. The whole thing with Freedom Week was this. Judge Benitez declared the law with regard to magazines unconstitutional, and then he realized that if he actually let the Ninth Circuit put a stay on his decision, which they most certainly would have done, they would have done that immediately, and the law wouldn't have changed. He makes his decision, and they put a stay on it, and there's no freedom. So what he did is he decided he would put a stay on it, but he insisted on holding the case for a week in order to do that. And at the end of that week, he put a stay on it, which gave us a week to bring in millions of magazines into the state of California, which essentially made enforcing the law entirely impossible, except against a prohibited person who can't have magazines at all or ammunition or a gun. And so if you ask any cop, I've asked people from the California Department of Justice, they will tell you that the law is unenforceable except against prohibited people or someone who admits, hey, I bought that last week. I didn't get it during Freedom Week. So if you're foolish and you do that, yeah, you can get in trouble. But other than that, not. Is it entirely within entirely possible that Judge Benitez would pull a similar stunt with the assault weapons ban? Absolutely. I don't know if he will, and I don't know how that would work. But it's entirely possible, yes. Let's see. The court date for the Amnesty Freedom Week is buying. For the Amnesty Freedom Week for buying, I'm not sure what that is. Forgive me. There's a rally going on the 20th in Sacramento from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. I would love to be there. Unfortunately, I will be on my way to SHOT Show because SHOT Show on the 20th, SHOT Show begins that week. So my son and I will actually be in Las Vegas at SHOT Show. Otherwise, I would make the trip to Sacramento. And if you can, please do. Even a complete AR lower is not a firearm. That is true too, by the way. That is also true. And Dan has argued that in court and won on a number of occasions. What were the docs again needed to have ammo sent directly? You need two things. A Curio and Relic federal firearms license. I think it's an 03 FFL. You can find the application on the ATF website. It's like $39, no fingerprints required, very easy to get. If you're a law-abiding citizen, you're going to get one. The other is a certificate of eligibility from the California Department of Justice. That's certificate of eligibility to buy a firearm. You do it one time, and basically it says you're eligible to own a firearm and buy a firearm in the state of California. You're not a prohibited person. They do a background check. For that, you have to go do a live scan and pay for the live scan, and that's where the majority of the cost is associated with that. When you have those two things, then you can buy ammo and have it shipped directly to your home, and you can also buy it out of state and bring it in. That is my understanding, looking at the exceptions in the law. And I've done it. I've ordered it and had it shipped here. So you can do it. And Ammo Squared, as I said, Dan from Ammo Squared said, yes, of course we'll do that. That's the law. So I thought that was very encouraging. Now, the Curio and Relic FFL is good for 3 years, and you have to renew it. Very simple to renew. The certificate of eligibility is only good for 1 year, and you have to renew it. But my understanding is, I haven't had it for the whole year yet. My understanding is that you do not have to do the live scan each time. You just have to send in the fee to renew it. And if that's the case, once you have it, it's fairly inexpensive to renew. It's a nuisance, but it allows you to get ammo, which right now is very, very difficult, and it seems like it's getting to be more so. All right, hold on. Let's see, anything else? I hope you don't mind my just sitting here answering questions because people have these a lot. What are the docs again? Let's see. West Virginia, HCR 8, introduced today, invites Virginia Second Amendment sanctuary counties to join us in West Virginia. I really want this to catch on. Will you please discuss it? I absolutely will, except that I don't know anything about it. So I just read what you have, and I don't. But what I will do is I'll discuss it in a future video. I was not aware of it until right now. I have to admit my ignorance. I didn't know that. Secret squirrel, by the definition of a firearm, you're correct. Personally, I don't have the financial resources to fight it. I get it. Love to see our county become I would love to see San Diego County become a Second Amendment sanctuary, but it ain't likely to happen anytime soon. I'm just grateful that our sheriff is issuing concealed carry permits. By the way, if you're in San Diego County and you have not applied for a concealed carry permit and you're a law-abiding Californian, please do, because you should. In fact, you can go to San Diego County gun owners, and on their website they have a neat little video explaining exactly what the process is. You should apply because the sheriff is issuing. It is not quite shall issue, but he's getting closer, and I suspect that he will be shall issue at some time. So if you are in San Diego County and that's where you live and you haven't applied, please do, and check out San Diego County Gun Owners. If you look at their website, they give you some great detail on how to do that. I've had a permit here since, I think, 1990 when they were really difficult to get. So it's nice to know that people are actually getting more of them. As far as I'm concerned, the more honest, law-abiding, armed people there are walking around, the better I feel. So there you go. So please be an armed person. I would really appreciate that. Let's see. What is my background? You're new here. What is my background? Oh my gosh. I'm an old man. There you are. I assume you're asking about my background as far as firearms are concerned. My dad was a deputy sheriff in Columbia County, Oregon, for quite some time. He was an active hunter and shooter and so on. And I grew up in the country. I grew up in around farms and like that as a kid. Went to a two-room schoolhouse growing up, which is, I know that makes me sound like I'm 1,000 years old, but it was just a small community. And I've been hunting and shooting and riding motorcycles and four-wheel driving and all that kind of stuff since I was a kid. As far as firearms are concerned, I learned how to shoot when I was 5, and I've been shooting since then and hunting since then and everything else. That's a lot of my background. As far as firearms are concerned in instruction, my wife and I have owned a security company along with a couple of business partners. One was a retired police chief, he and his wife, and another one was a martial arts instructor. I've been an active martial artist for, 20 some odd years. Studied Tang Soo Do first and received a black belt in Tang Soo Do. And then I studied some Kung Fu for quite many years. And then for about the last 10 or 12 years, I've been very heavily into FMA, Filipino martial arts, particularly under my former business instructor, Mike Ritz, or business partner rather, Mike Ritz, who's a fabulous instructor in Filipino martial arts, terrific instructor. So I did that for a long time. Along the way, one of our clients was a bail bonds company, and so we did fugitive recovery for them and helped them with fugitive recovery. When people don't show up, the FTA, you have to go get them. And then I became a licensed bail bondsman, wrote bail for a number of years, and served a lot of felony warrants and picking up people who had skipped and didn't want to come back. And sometimes you're all over the state doing that, and sometimes you're in other states doing that. So I did that for a while. It's nothing like, who's the guy? Dog the Bounty Hunter. That TV show is about as far from reality as you could possibly get. I realize it's great entertainment and like that. I've never watched it, but one or two episodes. But it's pretty silly and doesn't bear anywhere near what you actually do. It's a lot like the job is actually more along the lines of what a marshal would do. But most people, frankly, when they skip, if you just call them and remind them, they forgot and they'll come. But the ones you have to chase, you have to chase. And then we owned a security company for a number of years that did explosives detection and narcotics detection with canine teams. I had a bunch of guys that were retired and former law enforcement and former military with dog teams. We did that. We had some really big clients, none of whom I can name because I had to sign NDAs for all of them. And then we did executive protection for a number of high net worth people, and then I can't mention them either for the same reason. And then we did a lot of consulting for churches and organizations, helping them secure those places. So I've done a lot of that work. And then the security company, or the training company we own now, we've had for 11 years. We train security officers throughout the state. We have, I think, 17,000 students currently, and pretty busy at Practical Defense Systems. We've actually moved that more online because it's easier to scale online training than it is physical training. So we're not doing the firearm stuff anymore. So hopefully that helps. Let's see. I hope that answers that question. That's probably more than you wanted to know. Let's see. Secret Squirrel, where was I? Joel, are we here in California ever going to get the roster of handguns eliminated? It is in court currently. People say, why aren't we suing about that? We are. It just takes forever and 1,000 years for this stuff to get through court. But we are actually suing. I'm not, but the California Rifle and Pistol Association, the Gun Owners of California is part of that. NRA funds a lot of those. You just don't hear about NRA doing it because they fund it through their California affiliate, which is the CRPA. So CRPA is an independent group, but they're the California affiliate of NRA. So NRA tends to fund lawsuits through CRPA in large part because Chuck Michelle, who has Michelle and Associates, is a fantastic attorney, really focuses on firearms, and he is the volunteer president of CRPA. So they do a lot of that work, and NRA funds a lot of that. They've spent millions and millions and millions of dollars here in California on lawsuits. They just take forever to work their way through the court. So my hope is yes, but it's not going to be fast. Hello from Korea. Well, hello, Korea. 감사합니다. Thank you very much for being here. That's the only word I know in Korean. And we were just in Koreatown in Los Angeles having lunch. I love kimchi, by the way. So glad you're there. Thank you so very much. Citizens advocacy and things, yeah, there is a recall effort for Gavin Newsom. If you haven't already signed the petition, please do. You can find it online. I've already signed it. What about San Bernardino County? I think San Bernardino County issues, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure they do. Riverside County CCW is getting easier as well. Somebody noted, and I did notice that. Since Dan argued about the firearm thing, the lowers not being firearms, is that case law? I suspect that it is, but I'm not being an attorney. I couldn't speak to that, so I really don't know. The politicians conveniently forget anything that they don't want to support, and in order to support things that don't make any sense and that are patently unconstitutional. You're quite right there, Bill. I appreciate that. I'm targeted as Mark typed that. The problem with LA County, if you're in LA County, I don't think you can get a CCW for love or money unless you're a friend of the sheriff, family of the sheriff, you donate a lot to his campaign, or you're a movie star. And that's got to change. I mean, supposedly it was going to change, but I don't know that it has. Certainly I would apply, but I don't know if you can get one or not. And then let's see. It seems like most firearms folks get it yeah, they do. A lot of folks grow up historically, and that's one of the reasons this Andrew says it seems like most firearms folks get that from their dad. I would like for more moms to get involved. My mother was not a shooter. Neither were my grandmothers. My grandfathers were. My dad was. My wife is. She actually loves to go to the range, loves to shoot. And so our kids all learned how to shoot when they were 5 or 6 years old. Not that I have a million kids, but all of my kids did. I don't want a million kids. I can't afford it. Firearms Policy Coalition. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Great group. You bet. I should have mentioned them. I didn't. Let's see. I don't know that SCOTUS, I think the handgun roster is actually, is it waiting on the Supreme Court? I didn't know that. I didn't know it had gone that far. Yes, absolutely donate to all of those groups if you haven't already. I do on a regular basis whenever we can come up with the money to do it, and I am a life member of every group I can think of that will allow me to be a life member. Gun Owners of California doesn't do that, so I'm an annual member there, but I do donate money whenever I can. I love the gun laws in Arizona as well. By the way, if you're in Yuma, please stop by Sprague's Sports and visit Sprague Sports and buy something there. They are very supportive of GunGuy TV, and they allow me to have guns shipped there so that I can review them, because a lot of times they can't ship guns to California, so I have to drive to Yuma. But Richard Sprague at Sprague Sports is awesome, and his whole staff is terrific, and they're very kind enough to let me use their range and to let people send guns for me to review. So if you happen to be in that area, please do stop by and say hi. They've been there forever, and a terrific store. Let's see. Lots of chats today. I know. I'm going through. I'm really encouraged by that. Let's see. Absolutely sign the recall for Gavin Newsom or Gavin Gruesome or Gavin Nuisance or whatever you want to call him. What's up with the graffiti behind you? Oh, people ask that all the time. This is for your general entertainment. It's just a photographic background. So I can reach back here and go like that. And you can see it. That's all it is. It's just a photographic background for you to be able to see something behind me besides my dirty mess in this studio, which isn't really a big mess, but nevertheless, it's a little more entertaining than that. So we change it every once in a while. I've got another one that makes me look like I'm in a bunker or whatever, and I've actually got a couple more I want to order, which are kind of fun. Why should anyone be required to apply for a right? Boy, you're asking a rhetorical question. Here's my answer. The Second Amendment is your permit. The Second Amendment says very clearly the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. As far as I'm concerned, all firearms laws in the United States are infringements. I might be able to find an exception, but I can't think of one. And there is absolutely no reason why anyone should have to genuflect in front of a government official or pay them for the right or get their permission for the right to exercise a constitutionally protected, God-given, natural right, which defending yourself most certainly is. So there you go. That's my opinion. If you don't like that, why are you watching my channel? I don't know. Let's see. But just Plinkin, I agree with you. 1,000%. You're absolutely right. Thoughts on 32 ACP? 32 ACP is a neat little round for a very small gun, for pocket gun. Unfortunately, the ammunition is not as plentiful or as easy to find in my experience. The other thing is that the selection of ammunition is not all that great. You'd be better off, I think, unless you already have one. If you already have one, you already have one. But if you're making a choice between 32 ACP and 380, I think I'd go with 380 because the amount of ammunition that's available and the variety of ammunition is probably greater. Neither of them are earth-shatteringly great defensive cartridges. However, I can't imagine anybody being shot in the face 3 or 4 times with a 32 that wants to do anything other than get to a hospital if they survived. So, the best gun to fight with is oftentimes the one you have with you. And if you live in an area like I live in San Diego County, it gets hot here. Not as hot as it does in Phoenix, but we have family. My wife's family is all from Phoenix. So we're out in that area. I'm not carrying a big gun. I'm carrying a small gun in my pocket because it's 115 stinking degrees. So if you live in an area where you're going to carry a small gun because it's an always gun as opposed to a left-it gun, people say, what happened to your gun, Joel? Well, I left it. I left it at home. I left it in the car. I left it in the briefcase, whatever, because it's big. An always gun is a small gun you always have in your pocket. That can be a 22, a 25, a 32, a 380, a 38, whatever fits the bill for you. The key is carry the most effective ammunition you can carry in it. Make sure that the ammunition functions very well in the gun because some of those little 32s can be kind of finicky about ammunition. Make sure it feeds well and operates well, and practice with it a lot, and it'll probably get the job done for you. So there you go. Thoughts about 32 ACP. I picked up my love to shoot when I was in the Marine Corps. Well, thank you very much for your service in the Marine Corps. I'm going to say semper fi to you, but I'm not a Marine. I was never in the military. I'm not a veteran. But I want to thank you. I'll tell you, in San Diego, we absolutely love our Marines. We love our sailors. We're a military town. I had a guy at the range one time tell me the military ought to leave San Diego, and I said, you're absolutely nuts. If the military left San Diego, it would dry up and blow away. And I asked him where he was from. He said, San Francisco. And I said, well, that figures. Let's see. It's like applying for... it is. It's like applying for a right to breathe. California, by the way, I think has a new law that they're taxing you for breathing. Inhaling is one tax. Exhaling is another. I shouldn't say that because they might actually try it. You live in Orange County, just 30 minutes. Okay. Live in Orange County, just turned 30. Want to buy my first rifle, don't want to deal with California complete rifle, thinking of Mini 14. Oh, yeah, well, Mini 14, any other rifles I should look at? I've had a Mini 14 forever, and I did a little work on it because back then they were not terribly accurate. Now they're extremely accurate. You're not going to go wrong with a Mini 14. You're just not. They're a little pricey now compared to other things, but then people will say, well, they're really pricey compared to an AR. However, if you buy a stainless steel ranch rifle, every part in that gun is stainless steel. You can't buy a stainless steel AR. The other thing is a Mini 14 is a gas-operated gun, not a direct impingement gun. So they're cleaner. And if you buy if you compared a gas-operated, not one you piece together, but a Daniel Defense or something like that, a gas-operated AR to a Mini 14, you have a more direct comparison, and then the price isn't so wacky after all. So yeah, you can't go wrong with a Mini 14. I own one, and to be honest with you, I actually like it more than I do my ARs. And I'm going to have a lot of people hating on me now. I do love ARs, don't get me wrong, but I really like the Mini 14. I like the Garand actions. I like my M1 Garand more than I like my AR, so there you go. Maybe I'm nostalgic. Let's see. I'm Eastern time and have an early get-up time. Good night. Thank you so very much, Mark, for hanging in there. I appreciate it. We won't be too much longer. Thank you very much for hanging out. Do we have to serialize any... Let's see. Do we have to serialize any gun that we make at home? In California, yes. My understanding is that you have to apply to the Department of Justice for a serial number and then apply it to the gun in the specific way that they tell you. I've not done it, so I don't know the ins and outs of it, but the California Rifle and Pistol Association does. So before you do it, I would contact them and ask them for their specific advice. Because if you want it to be legal, that's what you have to do. I think it's ridiculous, but that's the answer to your question. Yes, that's true. Thanks, GunGuyTV. I mean, well, you did that already. All right. Angel, only if you sell it. Okay, there you go. And that may be true. I don't know. He's gentleman here, Secret Squirrel, is saying that only if you sell it do you have to serialize it. I don't know. My understanding is you had to do it, period. But I could be wrong. I love your podcast. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate it. I really appreciate that. That's really growing a lot. I'm kind of surprised, but it is. It's taken off. Okay. Secrets, they already do. Okay, I wasn't sure. And do you want to, let's see. Okay, I wasn't sure and do not want to be a FUD. Well, you're not a FUD. Sometimes I'm Elmer Fudd, I have to admit, but you're not. So there you go. I'm a Fudd because I'm an old guy and I love to hunt. Sometimes I'm Elmer Fudd. Be very quiet. I'm hunting rabbits. Let's see. I was a Fudd with that Savage Axis 2 when I didn't check to make sure that the scope was locked down. That was my Fuddism for the week or the month or whatever. Mini 14 will last forever. Yes, it will. Somebody else confirming Mini 14s are awesome. Need to find 1K plus range near Riverside. Wow, I don't know. I really don't know. I know if you're willing to drive, you can go out to Yuma, and the Adair range, which is free, has a 1,000-yard range, a 500-yard range, a 1,000-yard range. I don't think it goes beyond 1K, but it might. But they do have a 1,000-yard rifle range there, and it doesn't cost you anything to use it. I always donate a little bit, but you don't have to. There's no range master. It's big boy rules. And then you can stop at Mexi Burger, which has the best hamburgers in Yuma, if you ask me. Kind of a hole-in-the-wall little place. Outstanding hamburgers if you get out there. All right, military left Sacramento, Air Force is gone, only a National Guard helicopter unit. I've lived behind okay. There is a 50-state legal pipe shotgun you can build without registration. Oh, that's interesting. Do I like the SIG P365 as a concealed carry weapon? You're not going to like me. No. And it's not that I don't like the gun. I do. And it's not that it wouldn't make a great concealed carry weapon. It does. For a lot of people, I have a lot of students that carry it. Do I like the gun? Yes, but I'm not a big fan of pocket pistols, other than personally, and it's just personal preference. I'm not a big fan of pocket pistols, and I think that's the one you're talking about. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I don't know all the SIG models off the top of my head. But I'm not a big fan of the little pocket pistols other than a revolver. I really like that. So that's just personal preference. And then where SIGs are concerned, when they're double single guns, they're not my preference. So I don't generally carry double single guns. Or I like the double action only, and I like the single action only, but I don't like the ones that change because I don't shoot them well. Some people do. And that's probably a training issue. I hope that answers that question. And Jackie Chan, you're never going to talk to me again. And if this is a real Jackie Chan, I want you to know I love your movies. You're awesome. Even in your old age. You're older than I am, and you're in better shape than I am. And I'm trying to stay in shape. I'm not doing it very well, but I'm really trying. Yuma is your 1K answer. Probably yes. Let's see. Okay, the high desert just go. Okay, so there's Ruger LCP. I've played with a few of those. I don't have any comments about the Ruger LCP. Seems like a good little gun. So is the SIG, by the way. It's a great gun. Okay, I don't know anything about the range of Camp Pendleton. I can't get on it. I'm not a Marine. You are quite welcome, Rusty. Rusty said, thank you very much. You're quite welcome. Yes, I'm in Arizona, White Mountains over. Okay. Somebody else commenting about the Mini 14. Let's see. God bless you. Thank you very much. He has. And God bless you as well. And there you are. Okay. Hey, I made it. I got through all of them, I think. If there's any more, let's see. What time is it? I started about 20 minutes late. I think I'm into this for about an hour now, which is actually pretty darn cool. I'm just really astounded that you have stuck with me this long. Thank you very much. I'm really grateful. We're going to do this once a month on the second Tuesday of the month, and I'll figure it out so I'm on time next time. It'll be 6 p.m. Pacific time, which I think is 9. It depends on where we are in our goofy daylight savings time thing, which I absolutely despise in California. But I believe it's normally 9 p.m. Eastern. It's always been a 3-hour difference as far as I know. So thank you very much for all that you do. Everybody's thanking me for what I do. I don't really do anything. I'm just trying to share information. It's you that's important. Without you, what am I? I'm just some joker on YouTube talking to myself. So I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for what you do. You are much more important than I. Don't you forget that. I think it's super important that we stick together as gun owners, and no matter where you are in the world, certainly I'm with you. If you're a gun owner in any part of the world, or you're a person who would like to have the right to own firearms in a country in which you don't, consider me to be right there with you, shoulder to shoulder with you. If you're in the United States, I'm right here with you. And I think if we stick together and we can do things like maybe not the same as what they're doing in Virginia, maybe it won't work in every state, but if we can band together and make our voices heard, whether they want to be heard or not, hopefully in some peaceful fashion, but nevertheless make them heard, and like I said, in a peaceful fashion, I think we can achieve a lot and we can get our rights back. It's just going to take time. It's going to be hard. Do you want me to comment on West Virginia? First of all, I absolutely love West Virginia. It's a beautiful state. I don't get to go there often enough because I'm on the other end of the country. I don't know what's going on right now with West Virginia, so I really can't comment about current events there because I really don't know. As far as Virginia is concerned, I'm proud of what those folks are doing. I hope that West Virginia will follow that line or whatever they're doing there. I really don't have a comment there other than to tell you I absolutely love the place. There's some great hunting in West Virginia as well. It's a beautiful, beautiful state. Pray for Virginia and her people. Absolutely. Lord, we lift up Virginia. We lift up her people. We lift up those folks who are fighting for their rights and in many ways showing us how to do it. I'm very grateful for their incredible work, and also the folks in Virginia and Kansas and every other state, wherever they are. Please watch over them and keep them safe and help them be in every way successful. I do pray for people every day, and I will continue to do that. Let's see. Last one. Good night, and God bless you too. Thank you very much. The service you provide is making these ridiculous laws easier to understand. Well, I don't know, but I'm sure trying. Thank you, Roy. I appreciate that. Let's see. Remember to sign the Newsom thing. Absolutely. Does he mean Virginia? He might. 80% are very okay. There you go. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you hanging out with me at the moment. I hope I got everybody's question. If I didn't get yours, please forgive me. You can always, by the way, feel free to send me a question if you've got one. You can send it to my email address. It's joel@kbtninc.com. So there you go. Joel, Joel, @kbtn. That's like kick butt, take names. I think I've told this story before. That's actually what it stands for, which is really funny. Joel @kbtninc, like kick butt, take names Inc.com. Joel @kbtninc.com. Feel free to send me questions if you have them. I'm super busy right now trying to get ready for SHOT Show, so if it takes me a little bit to get back to you, please forgive me, but I will respond to each and every one. Have a wonderful week. Thank you so very much for all that you do, and please be safe.